to the ArmChair GM podcast. I'm pretty sure the Flames haven't decided whether they're rebuilding or going for a run for the cup. Like,
Well,
honestly,
it's pretty hard to expect them to go for the cup when their last 5 games are 1-1-3, and then they've lost a bunch more recently before that too.
That's fair. I mean, even like the games they're coming back in the third and tying it up and getting extra points. I mean, it's like, come on, just take the L. Let's fucking move on. We want to draft within the top 3.
Yeah.
So knock it off. They're
like
not
right
doing
now,
their job.
right now the Flames are 8-6-3 with which is good enough for the first wild card spot. Given we've played more games than anybody in our range. And the teams that are behind us are like Edmonton, Colorado, Utah. Like all of these teams can realistically pass us pretty quick because they're pretty good, in my opinion. And and then you look at some of the Eastern teams, like right behind us is like Tampa Bay and some of those teams, Boston, who, those teams they're not gonna be bad for long. And they've also all played like 14 games and we've played 17. So.
Yeah, that's true. The number of games is good for us for sure. And I mean, the standings are abysmal at the moment. It definitely is quite a bit out of whack.
Well, we're tied for 12th, which is a 3-way tie, actually, I guess, for 10th, with New York and Vancouver and us are all tied. And they've both played 3 less games than us.
Yeah, they played 3 less, and the they probably would have us at 12th given our goals for and against and our winning percentage, right? So I'm comfortable saying we're at 12th.
Yeah. Do you think, like, what do you think the biggest reason we keep squeezing points out of teams are? Like, whether it's from the wins or from the overtime shootout losses or whatever. What do you think is the single biggest reason the Flames have been performing better than expected? Honestly, most people.
I mean, for the most part, the first period has been terrible, but their willingness to keep going at it and pushing and pushing and pushing, and by the time you get to midway through the third, they seem to be the better team almost every game.
Yeah.
So I think, I said it to a friend of mine a couple of days ago that they remind me somewhat of the 2015 Flames with under Hartley, right, where they're well conditioned, they're pushing, they're fighting. It's unfortunate that almost every game they're starting from behind, right? Because we're back into that. First to third shot is going in, no matter who it is, right? Wolf has definitely performed better, in my opinion, on that. He's been able to get us into the midpoint of the game before letting in something weird. So Vladar's kind of struggled at the start, but once that first period is over, Vladar's been shutting the door as well.
Yeah, that's my reason. Like, my main reason for the Flames being better than expected is goaltending. And I agree with you. Like, the third period comebacks and the never quit and the effort level from the whole team is generally there and definitely a reason. But the single biggest reason, I think, is our goaltending is holding us in until the team catches up.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. Goaltending has been surprisingly good.
Both of them.
Absolutely. I've spent the last year or two saying or suggesting that Wolf hasn't shown me anything that proves he's an NHL goalie, but he's certainly proven me wrong this year, and which is great.
Yeah.
Like I guess we call that natural progression, right? I mean,
development.
Always been slated to be that number one goalie, and he's definitely making a case for it at the moment.
Yeah.
7 games in, and he's done. He's held up his end of the bargain.
Absolutely, and it's not just those two. Devin Cooley is absolutely amazing down in the AHL. Now,
yeah,
I haven't watched any games, but I've seen lots of highlights. He's got a 146 goals against average.
Yeah.
He's got a 954 save percentage. And I think he's got 3 shutouts. Like that's.
I was going to say he's got 3 shutouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
What's his record here? His record is I love how this shows me everything but his record. 8-2, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's 27, but goalies usually take a while, and all of his play in the NHL up to this point has been with a terrible team. I think he played for San Jose for a little bit last year for a game or two, and he just left out to dry. I think he's got it. I think if we were to maybe move on from Vladar or whatever, or if there was an injury, I wouldn't be like, it's hard to say because the NHL is so different, but I wouldn't be uncomfortable giving him an opportunity to back Wolf up, or even just to split or close to split. I do think Wolf should be getting more starts than Vladar or whoever backs him up. Because I think he's been that much better. Yeah. Again, Vladar's been good, very good most games, but I think Wolf has been better.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he's been damn good, obviously, and which is refreshing. Like I said, he's played vastly better than he did last year, or even the one game against San Jose the next, right? I mean, he got that win in that first game, but I mean, he flopped and he was nervous. You could tell I didn't think he was quite ready. But he's definitely calmed right down. His positioning and his ability to track the puck it still kind of blows me away. Like Vladar gets lucky a lot of times because he's in the right spot, where Wolf knows where the puck is at all times, and
Wolf's
kind of
tracking is so fun to watch. Like, if you, I know I've said this on the show before, but if you watch Dustin Wolf when he doesn't have the puck, or sorry, when the puck isn't coming his way, but the other team is flipping it around and passing it around and trying to make something out of nothing, Wolf's puck tracking and movement. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. And aggressiveness, I think, is a big thing. His ability to challenge the shooter, but also back into his net quickly when the shooter comes closer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I do. And obviously that's going to come with confidence as well, right?
Yeah. He's
the better he performs. Yeah.
9-13. Pretty good for his first real stretch in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a long season. We'll see how they end up. If we can keep him feeling confident and getting those key saves and keeping the team in games, I'm less worried about whether or not he's winning games, and more worried about him just improving on being an NHL goalie, right?
How he's playing. And I just want to point this out too. I know we've talked already about how good he's been as far as his movement and his tracking and all that stuff. He doesn't allow high danger opportunities because he's already there. And I think a lot of people who aren't watching him move before the shot comes thinks that the other team is just shooting at nothing, right? He's just shooting right into him, but he's making them do that. It's not like classic Flames from a couple years back where they would just be shooting it right into the goalie's crest on purpose, right? It's that Dustin Wolf is literally making the opponent shoot at him because he's not giving them anything else.
Yeah, he knows where the puck is. He can project where it's going to be during during the play, and he's so freaking fast and good at moving in and around the crease. Like everybody talks about side to side with a goaltender, but like he does side to side well, he goes diagonally well, he goes forward and back well. Like his movement while on his knees is phenomenal.
Absolutely. And I found last year he dropped too fast, and this year he's not dropping as fast.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. He's also looking around traffic instead of trying to look through people's legs. He's now doing the looking around people so he can stay up more, and he's not making himself look smaller than he is, which is great because that was his main issue last year, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. And that gives him that ability to track the puck, obviously, which is what we've been talking about through this whole segment about about Dustin Wolf. Is if he's able to see the play, he'll be able to track it and project where it's going to be and act accordingly. So
I was listening to Kevin Woodley. Do you know who Kevin Woodley is?
Yeah.
From In Goal magazine. He does radio hits everywhere and TV hits everywhere. And I was listening to him, I believe, on the PDO cast with Dmitry Filipovich, which I listen to quite often. And it's a great show. I suggest people go watch or listen to that as well. And I was listening to them talk about how rarely we talk about goalies' hockey IQ. You talk about hockey IQ with centers a lot. You talk about it with other skaters quite often, but nobody ever talks about hockey IQ with goalies. And both of those guys were talking very highly about Dustin Wolf's hockey IQ. And that's what you were saying, like his ability to read the play and react, but not react too soon, just react like at the right time because he's been tracking it properly and because he sees where the puck is going. He sees the play developing. So he's reacting with his mind before his body, and then his body follows.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he envisions it well. He can break down the play and I mean, let's be honest. Most of the plays you see coming in the zone, and they're moving the puck around side to side behind the net, that sort of thing. D to D. They're pretty predictable plays when you're able to see the play happening. It's when obviously there's some elite players that do certain things that just kind of blows everybody away. There's obviously that is going to happen in the NHL, but for the most part, most of it is predictable. And so if you're able to see it and you understand it, then you can make the right move and get in the way of the puck.
I think the team, like, last I checked, I don't know right now, but last I checked, Rasmus Andersson was leading the league in block shots. I think it was like halfway through last game, he passed Chris Tanev. Now Tanev is played earlier today, so I'd assume that Tanev passed Rasmus, but they're 1-2. But I think besides Rasmus, most of the other players on the team they've learned to trust that Wolf will make the save, so they let him see it. Right? They don't always do the best of jobs, but they try and clear the front of the net so Wolf can see it. Because if Wolf can see it, he's most likely making the save.
Yeah, and which is good because I found that this year, Rasmus has played obviously much better than he did last year, but I find that he's really struggling at clearing in front of the net.
He's too busy playing offense half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's getting in the lane and blocking shots, which is good. If you block the shot, if you don't block the shot, then it pisses goalies off, right?
Yeah, your screen. It's either, and you'll see Wolf do this a lot. It's either you're getting a stick tap from the goalie after the play because you've blocked it, or he's giving you the Mike Smith stare down because you've screened him and the shot went in.
Yeah,
it's a really stark difference, and and it's within a millimeter's difference of where the puck is going.
Yeah. I think part of the difference between Wolf and Smith is Smith would always blame it on somebody, regardless.
I lost it in the crowd.
Yeah, like that was his go-to. Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah.
In the playoffs a couple of years ago, Erasmus basically flipped the puck down the ice from the defensive zone, and Smith lost it. He said he lost it in the crowd and let it in with nobody around, anywhere near him. He let it in, and then he gave, I think it was Nurse. I can't remember if it was Nurse. He gave whoever his Edmonton Oilers defensemen were the fucking Smith stare down, and then at the end of the game, he came out and said, "Oh, I lost it in the crowd. That's my fault." But like at the time, he was like blaming his defenseman. It's like,
blaming his defenseman
you'll
from
never
140
hear
feet away.
No, I'm
not
not comparing Smith to Wolf or anything. That's not fair. Like clearly. Another thing is save the one play this year. I think it was against Boston. I could be wrong, but Wolf is actually good at playing the puck.
Mm-hmm.
Smith wasn't. I'm sorry, but like a lot of people seem to think that playing the puck a lot means a goalie's good at playing it. But no, just because you play it a lot doesn't mean you're good. It just means you're doing it. Wolf actually chooses the right time to do it.
I don't think you know what you're talking about. All the analysts, all the commentary always said when Smith is in net, it's like having a third goaltender. It's like having six skaters on the ice.
Third defenseman.
Or not third defenseman, sorry. And, six skaters on the ice. Yeah. He is amazing at playing the puck.
Yeah. Same with Markstrom, right? It's why there were so many pizzas up the middle of the ice and empty net goals because with both of them. And I like Markstrom. I've always been a Markstrom fan, but like, I'm sorry, all of you people who say he's good at playing the puck, he's fucking not.
No, he's not
at all.
No,
he just doesn't.
He's kind of like Smith in that aspect where, I mean, when he does play the puck, he's okay at it. But the problem is he chooses to try to play the puck when he shouldn't.
Yes.
And puts himself wildly out of position and awkward when it bounces off the boards weird. Or if for whatever reason he isn't able to stop it behind the net, then all of a sudden there's two guys in front of the net with a fucking puck. And a goaltender trying to dive back into position.
Yeah.
That was Smith's biggest problem. And same with Markstrom.
Speaking of Markstrom, let's talk about the Flames for a second. That game against New Jersey in the Saddle Dome. I think it was 3-0. Yeah. How about that? Like and Markstrom, like, you got to admit he had a good attitude about it once the crowd started jeering him, Markstrom or whatever, which admittedly isn't as funny as the Jets fans jeering Ottinger saying U.S. backup, which is hilarious.
Right.
But
that is actually pretty funny.
Yeah, especially with Hellebuck playing how he's playing. But and Markstrom just kind of, you could see him smile and laugh, like he just let 2 goals in, and I mean his team's doing well, but he's just let 2 goals in, and the whole Saddle Dome, used to cheer him all the time, jeering the absolute shit out of him, and he's just laughing about it. I actually appreciated that.
Yeah, no, that's right. He did well at it. I think it was brilliant that Vladar got the shutout against him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
there's
was
money on the
amazing
board
person.
there.
What's that?
Said there's money on the board there, one of he had to take them out for dinner or something like that, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so, because it would make it even better, obviously.
The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping for the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. If you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only at DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And it's been a while since we've done a show. I know life gets in the way sometimes, but we haven't done a show since Backlund's 1000th game, and obviously that Utah game was a joke. The Flames, it was, I'd say, the only game this season where the Flames were actually terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And Backlund didn't deserve that, but that ceremony, the next game at home that they did with Backlund's family, and that video tribute with Iginla narrating it was amazing. The Flames always do really good at that, and I think the NHL does this in general, but the giving Oliver and Tilly mini silver sticks was really cool.
It's classy.
Yeah, there was a video going around of it followed Tilly around, Backlund's daughter, Tilly Backlund, followed her around for like the whole ceremony the whole time. Oh my God, those kids are cute, man.
Yeah, they really are. And once again, Michael gets choked up. Like he's turning into a very emotional person. I think
he wears his heart on the sleeve for sure.
Yeah, I think he's kind of getting to a point in his life where he knows his years are numbered, and obviously he's had a bit of an emotional season with the passing of Johnny and stuff. It's been a tough year for him.
And a bunch of his tight friends left last year, and all that type of stuff, and he chose to stay, which was good. But I have no problem. And he's I think he's really grown into his leadership role. Have you been watching The Chase?
I've caught it here and there. I haven't really had much time to sit and watch it. I think I'm actually off for a couple of days here, so I think I might have the opportunity to binge watch it a little bit.
I would suggest
I'm gonna get that done before the weekend, I think, because I do hear good things about it.
I've watched all of the episodes except the newest one. For those of you that don't know, The Chase is a miniseries the Flames are doing, which is awesome because they're behind the scenes coverage has never been that great, and it's they're really leaning into it this year, which is great. But I found one of the main things that I've found, well, the two main things I found with that series so far is that I really think Backlund is an underrated leader. Like very underrated, the way he talks to his teammates, the way he takes guys under his wing, and the way he talks with the coaching staff on and off the ice. I was really impressed with that. And the other thing I've taken is Huska. I really like Huska. I like how he holds people accountable, but he doesn't doghouse them. He gives them the chance to redeem themselves the next game. I think that's very important. If you're just doghousing someone and then leaving them there forever, what's the fucking point? I like how he holds players accountable, and I like how he mixes things up. Like sometimes maybe he mixes things up a little bit too much. But for the most part, I really enjoyed Ryan Huska, especially this year.
I think given the circumstances in which Huska became the coach, and the players that have come and gone over the last 2 seasons,
significant.
I give him credit. I give him credit because I mean he's been kind of dealt a shitty hand and he's done very well with it.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean he is a professional, right? Obviously he was a professional in the A for the most part, and had good pedigree there. But I think he just actually gets better and better. Obviously last year was kind of hit and miss with some decisions he was making, but I think this year he's really making his mark as an actual true NHL coach. I don't hear nearly as much of the fan base harping on his decisions and some of the stuff he does.
Yeah.
Obviously, he does do, the occasional blender on the lines and stuff like that, which kind of leaves your head scratching. But I mean, that's just a coach trying to get something going with the team.
And also,
right?
he can only work with what he's given. And we're going to talk about lines, forward lines specifically later in the episode here. And definitely get into that. But I agree with you. I think, especially with a young coach who has come up through the A, done his time coaching the A for quite a while and then got promoted up. It's no different than a player, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's developing as a coach, right? You can use that term for the young players on the team, but you can also use it for staff and management. Conroy is developing, he's come up through the system and he's developing as a manager. And I think he's getting better and better. And same with Huska as a coach.
In fact, look how long he was the assistant, right? Like
through a few different coaches too.
Few coaches, a couple of GMs. Like holy shit. When you sit back and think about Conroy's time, in management, or assistant management, whatever you want to call it, it's significant, right? Like he's put in the time, and and I think it's made him very good at what he's doing right now. He's seen
mistakes, he's seen success, and he's seen mistakes, and he's learned from them. I think he's done a great job so far.
I still give him credit. Last year I was pretty pumped with some of the moves he made, and I wanted more, but that's fine. I can't fault him for not doing more because he did quite a bit last year.
Oh, he was hands down the busiest GM in the league last year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean to get rid of all those expiring contracts and the return that he was able to get is, I mean it was significant, and it's going to help get this team to where they need to be in the next couple of years, right?
I agree.
And I don't think that Brad Treliving could have pulled off what Conroy did.
I don't think Treliving would have been able to convince. I think that's part of the problem with Treliving is that he wasn't able to convince the ownership that it was time to rebuild, or that it was time to sell off certain guys or anything like that. I know he wanted to at some point, but I don't think he had the ability to properly convince Murray Edwards and John Bean of what needed to be done. And I think Conroy just straight up did.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest that just means he wasn't great at the position then. I mean,
I agree.
obviously you have to manage the team, but one of the key things of that job is to be able to communicate your ideas and your concepts to the owners to a point where they agree with you or let you do what you need and or want to do. And if you
And
can't do that,
that's the
then
same with any job. I have to do that in my
100%.
job. I
Everybody
I
has a
know
boss,
how to
right?
properly communicate with different supervisors and different bosses because I've been there for a while, and I know how each one of them, maybe not all of them, but most of them respond differently to different things, and I know how to bring it up properly, right? And that's
Yeah.
any, like, I work at a freaking sawmill, right? Like, that's any
Mm-hmm.
job.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's just management 101, right? You have to be able to communicate your ideas or else they're not going to be implemented.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I also wonder if Conroy having the help of a Ginla is assisting with that as well. If you get two players that that played here, they've been with the organization for a lot of years. Obviously, Ginla being one of the greatest Flames to ever put the jersey on.
I don't think
So I would
either of
think
them are
that his
yes men either. I think that they're probably
yeah,
more than happy to argue with each other about things, which is
totally.
important. But still, like,
Absolutely.
have a drink afterwards.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think you would call that arguing. I think that would be
Constructive
two minds.
conversations.
Yeah, two minds coming together and because they both want the same thing, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, they could probably look each other in the eyes and go, "You're a fucking idiot. Don't do that," or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they've been friends for like 2 decades, right? At least.
Longer than that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, God, it's 2024. Time's going by too fast, my friend.
It sure is. The 04 run was literally 20 years ago, 2 decades.
You know what? It was 20 years ago, and I know it's something that's fresh in your mind. I don't know if you know this or not, but that puck actually crossed the line in 04.
Yeah, and the puck crossed the
Started,
line against Vancouver last night too.
correct.
Yeah.
Decided I bring that up. I know that's your favorite topic.
It's
I
just
see you
like it was
in the
20
comments.
years ago. We don't
Mhm.
need to fucking talk about it. Every time there's a goal challenge in a Flames game, the commentators, whether it's fucking Kelly Rudy or whether it's the Amazon Prime guys or whoever it is, they always talk about 2004. It's like 20 fucking years ago. Let's move on a little bit. There's a challenged goal every couple games, every few games. We don't need to hear about what happened 20 years ago every fucking time.
I don't think you have any idea what it is to be a fan in sport. Fans in sport hold on to the weirdest thing for decades and decades. That's just
There's
how it is.
literally 15-year-old Oiler fans out there talking about the 90s and the 80s and how
100%.
good they were. And it's like that was you could double your lifespan and you would have just been born in time. Actually, you wouldn't.
It took the city 15 years to remove the City of Champions sign on your way in. Like they hadn't won shit for decades.
Yeah.
Knock it off. Yeah. That's just how fans are.
Yeah.
They hang on to the glory days, right? That's where fans were born, was during that cup run in 04. I would suggest that potentially half of our fan base now came because of that.
Yeah, like how many of them are exactly, 20 years old or 19 years old for some reason.
Yeah. That I mean, that's likely.
Probably a bunch of them born within the same 3 weeks.
The red mile was a good time, is what I'm saying.
There's lots of freaking titties out there. Uh,
Oh, Dylan.
anyways, let's talk about lines, forward lines, because I know that you and I have both been frustrated by Nazem Kadri this year. I know that you, at the beginning of the year, you were much higher on him than I was, and I was getting ready to come over to that side because he was playing quite well to start the year, and he was playing quite well for a lot of last year. But he's reverted back to his old tactics.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that it's important because he wants to carry the puck into the zone, whether he is good at it or not. And I don't think he is. He just tries it all the time, kind of like the goalies with the playing the puck. I think that we have to split him from Kadri and Kuzmenko, because those are the three players that are most likely to want to carry the puck into the zone.
Yeah.
And our entries, especially on the power play, are a big problem, right? So I think we need to, and in 5v5, right? So I think if we had Zary on his own line without Kadri, and Kuzmenko on a separate line, then you'd have three guys on three different lines who want to carry the puck into the zone instead of having three guys on the same line who always want to have the puck, right? Like, obviously NHL players always want to have the puck, but you know where I'm going with this.
I do. I mean, how many times, and like before we started recording here, you and I had a conversation about Kuzmenko and him. He's not having the season that we thought he would. He's really struggling with zone entries and things like that. And I think a big part of it, and we see it regularly, is if he's got the puck and he's on his way into the offensive zone, Kadri, for some reason, has to be shoulder to shoulder with him, and it causes a bottleneck, and nobody has any room to breathe. It's really frustrating to watch Kadri do that shit because he does it all the fucking time. Every single game, he is in the way of something. Whether
Even
it be a
that
zone
goal
entry,
Barry scored the other night,
yeah,
Kadri was literally in his way, and he still scored, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't understand why. Obviously, Huska sees it. He has to see it. And I don't understand how he's not able to communicate it with him. Or if he's not able, if Kadri isn't able to listen to the coach in stuff like that, then perhaps Kadri should sit out a period and be like, until you can fucking let your line mates play with you, you sit here. You can watch.
That's my biggest thing with him is he always wants to have the puck, which is fine, but it's to the point where he doesn't use his teammates. And when he does have the puck and he's entering the zone, I've said it before. Last year he ran headfirst into Trouba. Like he's been doing the same. Like, he'll look in front of him and he'll see three defenders, and he'll try and skate through them, even though there's no room. And the thing is he draws penalties doing it as well, and it drives me nuts because he's initiating the contact and he's diving.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's a very integrity-filled way to play the game, right?
Remember when they used to call embellishing?
Oh man, if I was a ref watching Kadri play, I would be calling diving and embellishing all the fucking time, because like there was one high stick. I can't remember who it was that high stick Kadri, but this guy was literally on the glass, right? He was on the glass, and Kadri swoops in and takes the 1 centimeter of ice that's between this guy and the glass, goes through him, trips over him, falls on top of his stick, and gets a high sticking call. Like, It's fucking nonsense. Kadri drives me fucking nuts, man.
Yeah. You see just weird little plays, and a lot of times he does that shit even away from the puck.
Yeah.
Right. Running into his own teammates, running into other players. Like he's not aware of his surroundings at all.
He doesn't want to use his teammate can be I think against Boston he scored through Zadorov. It works sometimes, right? Sure. Kuzmenko was on the other side, completely open, had an open net, could have easily scored from there. And Kadri scored on that. So it works sometimes. Yeah. But I think it doesn't work far more often than it does work. And he's a liability now because he's turning the puck over. But then he does that one thing against Zadorov and everybody's back on the, oh my God, Kadri's amazing train. But he's okay, I have the stats up here. Let me look at this. Kadri is a team worst. I believe he's still team worst. -11. And holy shit, he's got 20 penalty minutes. That's ridiculous. So he's a team worst -11. The next closest is Sharangovich, who's -6. So, and I attribute that to his turnovers. Like, how many times have we been scored on because Kadri, even in the neutral zone, he'll try and skate through 2 or 3 guys and it won't work. And then it's like a 2-on-0 the other way. Yeah. In overtime, especially. Like, he makes our goalies have to make high danger saves all the time.
Yeah, he creates odd man rushes against us.
Yes.
It's the two things that he's leading on the Flames is plus minus at -11 and penalty minutes at 20. That's atrocious. That really is.
Listen, we all know that going to the game live is way better than watching it on TV. So why not try the Game Time picks? Only at gametime.co. Game Time picks make it easier to save money on sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and everything else. Got all-in-one pricing, which is fantastic, so you know what your upfront cost is right away. You can look at seat views with panoramic. It's got the lowest price guaranteed. The Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Oh, it's game time.
Anyways, I want to talk about the lines. I know that's how this whole thing started, but I want to talk about the lines. You and I discussed that we were going to bring our preferred forward lineups and talk about them. Yep. So I want to hear yours.
You want to hear mine? Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna start off with a line that I know you've been clamoring for since about mid last season. I think you bring it up every single time we talk and or text. Having Zari on playing center in the middle of Huberdeau and Sharangovich.
That's my first line. That's my first line.
Yeah. So for obvious reasons, let's give him a chance at center. I truly think Sharangovich and Huberdeau can be something special once they start getting their chemistry back. Sharangovich has kind of struggled to start, obviously coming back from the injury. It's unfortunate because he's a great player and I really like watching him, but you can see that he's even frustrated. He doesn't look like he's having a good time. And I think playing with a guy like Zari that has really good awareness of where the play is, where it can develop and can make those plays happen with the likes of Huberdeau, I think they would have their possession numbers would be incredible. And I think between the three of them, they have a very good chance at putting points on the board.
I think one really cool thing to think about there too is Zeri creates space for other players by protecting the puck, and that draws more players to him because they become frustrated that he's only 6 feet tall and he's not letting the puck go against guys who are quite a bit bigger than him. So that draws more opponents towards Zeri. And then, like, we've seen Sharangovich when he has a little bit of room, right? So if there's less defenders defending him and Huberdeau, who, by the way, is on pace for 30 goals,
Right.
I think that would be really good for both of those players. Not only that, but so Zeri had a rough couple games. I think he's had 2 really good games since, but the 2 previous games before that, I think he may have been playing hurt. He didn't look like himself. It was quite tough to watch, actually. I think most games he's been one of our top 3 players, and those 2 games he was one of our worst 3 players. But for the vast majority of this season, he's been very, very, very good. And Huberdeau, I think, is underrated on the boards when it comes to puck battles on the boards. I think Huberdeau is vastly underrated at that.
I agree with you. I've been saying that for a while. I think his ability to battle in the corner is really impressive. I really like watching him battle for the puck because he's very strong. He's hard to get off the puck when he's really fighting hard. I like watching him do that.
I agree, and I also think that Zeri is smart enough to see Huberdeau's passes. I think one of the biggest problems, I mean, of course, Huberdeau sends some Hail Mary passes that are ill-advised, but I also yes, but I also think that a lot of the time it looks that way because his teammates aren't ready for them. And I think that Zeri is smart enough to read that better than others. So I think that connection, and honestly, like, Zeri and Huberdeau had some chemistry going last year, and so did Sharangovich and Huberdeau. So let's just try that line. Know what I mean?
That's right.
And then you have a guy again, and then you've split up Zeri, Kuzmenko, and Kadri, and you have somebody who wants to carry the puck in, and then he can distribute it to either a sniper or a guy who wants to distribute it more or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That just seems like it would work, that line to me. What's your second line? Because that's my first line as well.
My second line has Coronado, Kadri, and Pospisil. I think Coronado deserves to be on the second line. I think he's busted his ass and looks really impressive since coming back up from the Wranglers.
He's looked really
I think he struggled. He's looked fantastic. I think he struggled for a few games leading up to him being sent down, which is fine. I think, and he wasn't down that long. But
and
I
he
think
lit it up.
It gave him that spark, and it gave him some sort of a mindset. Like, he's been busting his ass. Like, it's been good. I've really enjoyed watching him. I've always been a fan of Pospisil. He hasn't looked great, obviously, offensively this year. He played really well with Kadri to start the season last year, and I think joining them up again, and it's more I can't think of anyone else I want to put with Kadri, to be honest.
And I understand why you tried it, but Pospisil at center needs to fucking stop. It's not good.
Agreed.
It's not good at all. It limits him from doing the things that he's good at. It makes him try to do things that he's not good at, and it's causes penalties. Honestly, it causes him to be so worried about being a two-way player that he's reaching and he's hitting guys that he shouldn't be hitting. And, like, obviously you want him to hit because that's his biggest strength, but doing that off the wing just on the one side where he's straight lining it is so much better than trying to make him venture around.
I agree. Last year, Pospisil was 45% in the faceoff dot. This year, so far, he's 39.
We have
So
been
he's not getting
terrible.
better. He's getting worse. And like I think we are the worst team in faceoffs this year.
Yeah. What's it against the Canucks? I think like halfway through the Canucks game, or maybe it was the Boston game. I can't remember, but one of the commentators said we were like 30% or 32% like halfway through the game. And it's like, that is unacceptable. And we need to try somebody else. Like Zari needs his shot at center because he's a natural center. Pospisil played center, and I'll say this until the tournament changes, but he played center in the Worlds. The Worlds is not the NHL. The World Championships. Like Mangiapane was really good at the Worlds, and he's not a really good NHL player. And Pospisil is really good at center at the Worlds, playing against B competition most of the time. And he's not good at it playing against A competition.
Right. Yeah.
That's just how
I agree 100%. Yeah, you can't hold players to a standard because of Worlds.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not playing.
You can try them. Players. Trying him at center because he was effective at Worlds is okay, but keeping him there this fucking long is it's time to
that's a mistake.
Like again, we're Huska fans, but this Pospisil at center thing needs to end.
Yeah, I agree. I would rather see Sharon Govich at center, and I do not want to see Sharon Govich at center.
Me neither.
What's your second?
My second is Coleman, Coronado, and Backlund. Obviously, Backlund at center. I know that that's your third line or whatever, but I don't think that's your third line. That's the top nine is the top nine in Calgary. The amount of minutes they play is not very different.
Agreed.
So that's my second line, and it's because those guys can play against other teams' top lines and be effective defensively. Yeah. I've found I really like this line. Obviously, this one's already been happening for a few games. Coronado and Coleman specifically have found some chemistry, I found. And Coronado's release, man. He looks like Sharon Govich looked near the end of last year.
It's a confidence thing right now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I think that Coronado's pace is forcing Backlund to keep up. Because Coleman is always fairly speedy. I don't think he's a slow player. He's hard on the forecheck, hard on the back check. And Backlund is always really hard on the back check and a little bit less so on the forecheck because he's a defensive first player, which is fine. But I think that playing with Coronado and his speed, which was his biggest knock last year, our skating coach is fucking fantastic. Danielle Fujita, I think her name is. She has worked wonders with Coronado and Zari. And I think that having Coronado with Backlund forces Backlund to keep up and keep pace. And it's been really nice to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Backlund, Coleman, and Coronado are a tough line to play against because Coleman is tenacious. He's tough as hell. He fights for every minute that he's on the ice. There's no floating. There's no half-ass with Coleman. It's full on all the time. And what we've seen from Coronado since he came back, same thing. Yeah. He's full on all the time. his speed in the last 5 games, man. Ever since he blew past Bedard
for that empty
in that
netter.
for that empty net goal, it's just like
Best empty net goal I've seen in a while because of the hustle for it.
The effort, yeah. And I feel like as soon as he did it, something clicked in his brain that said, "Oh shit, I am quicker than I thought." And he's been showing it game after game since.
Yeah. And I do want to I want to kind of talk about your line there, because your line was Coronado, Kadri, and Pospisil.
Yeah.
So Pospisil left winger?
Yeah.
Or Coronado left winger?
I would put Pospisil there.
That's fair. I don't mind that. The only thing I want to say, and man, people get on my case because I shit on Kadri so much, but it's hard not to when I watch him play every fucking game. Coronado's never going to touch the puck if he's playing with Kadri. You want Coronado touching the puck. You want him being the guy that's shooting. And Kadri wants to be the only player on the ice. When he has the puck, he's the only player on the ice. So I think that whoever you're playing with Kadri is being limited by Kadri's greed. And I don't want to limit Coronado from touching the puck very often.
I mean, essentially, I think you and I have the same people within the second, third lines, and like I would feel completely comfortable with switching who I have on like one player from each line, and moving and bumping up the backline line to be the quote unquote second line. I would feel completely comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And then, but and the reason why I kind of split it up, and my whole reason was because of the issue that I see with Kadri and Kuzmenko playing together. I don't think they play well together at all. And I don't know if it's because Kuzmenko's struggling at the moment, or if it's greed with Kadri, or I don't know.
Well, they both want to carry the puck all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And they both like to be fancy when it's not appropriate to be fancy. And I think that the similar style clashes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have two guys with the puck, right? So if you have two guys that want the puck all the time, there's going to be issues, obviously, right?
Yeah. So my third line or second line, my other middle sixth line is Kuzmenko, Kadri, and Pospisil. And that's only because I can't find another place for Kadri, honestly. And I think that Pospisil on that line, he's a distraction, right? He's a distraction for the opponents when he's actually playing well and getting under people's skin. Then there's less defenders in the way of for Kadri to skate headfirst into. So he's more likely to be able to successfully dangle. And I don't think Kuzmenko dangles directly into players like Kadri does, but he dangles too much and loses the puck. And
yeah,
I think if there's less defenders, then both of those guys can do that more confidently.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I do agree. I think Kuzmenko tries to do one too many plays almost every time he has it.
Agreed.
And which is unfortunate because I think he's very good at keeping the puck on his stick, but I feel like he just wants to do one extra thing. And I think he needs to get away from that.
I wish he'd shoot a little bit more. Like, I could be wrong here. I think he leads the team in assists. Yeah, he leads the team in assists with 8. So you can't really say much bad about that, right? Like, he's only got 1 goal, which is a problem. but I want to see him shoot it more because I think that he has a lethal shot, and I think he's trying too hard to be a playmaker, which he's really good at. Like when he was playing with Pedersen in Vancouver, I remember watching how often he was using. Basically, he would be him and Pedersen would be using each other as a bumper. Like they wouldn't be passing to each other; they'd be shooting it off of the other guy's stick on purpose. And I think it's confidence. I remember he had an interview a couple weeks ago where he said, "I'm not playing good. I have to put the puck in the net," and he seemed really down, which is really weird for him. I think that I kind of feel like if he pots one or two in a game, he'll turn it all around and he'll go on a streak because that's the kind of player he is, and I feel like he feeds off of his own emotion.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the fact that this team is still, in a wild card spot is impressive. There's a lot of reasons for players to feel good about their game and good about what is happening. So it's unfortunate that you see like Kuzmenko, who does not look like he's having fun at the moment, Sharangovich, who does not look like he's having fun at the moment, and both of them it's a result of not producing points.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't go off, from the year that Sharangovich just came from to what he's showing right now, and obviously he understands that he's not doing what he's supposed to. And same with Kuzmenko, right? He looked really good at the end of the year. After like when he got traded here, then he had that illness that he had to get over. But then after that, like he fit right in, and he kind of created something on our power play that I thought was going to be really fun to watch this year. But it just has not transitioned at all. And he's, and that's, I think you're right. It's 100% confidence, and that's all that has to happen. He just needs to get going with some points. Not sure how that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen with his current line mates, but I think once he gets going, then he's going to be a force.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel so strongly about keeping him on the team now after watching him, but that's okay. We need him to produce for two reasons. One, either up your stock for trade value or become a contributing member of this team moving forward at the start of a rebuild. I don't care which one it is, but
I'm happy with either one.
That's right.
He just has to do something.
Yeah.
And I want to reiterate, I really like Kuzmenko as a player.
Yeah. 100%.
Usually, I think his attitude is good for the team. I don't think the team has the negativity attitude that it did last year. And I think that him and Sharangovich and a few other guys are a big reason for that. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind keeping him around as long as he's being, like you said, a contributor.
The most exciting thing about Black Friday is getting an amazing deal you wouldn't normally get, except with Raycon, because with Raycon you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering my viewers up to 30% site-wide. A Black Friday deal you'll appreciate every day. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds. Especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that'll make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. It's time to save big for Black Friday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN.
Fourth line, I've got, let's see here. I've got Lomberg, Kirkland, and Klapka. And honestly, you could scratch any three of those guys for Rooney and put him in. Rooney gets all sorts of shit from the fan base. I think he's a perfectly fine player. I have no problems with him being a fourth liner or a 13th forward or anything like that. I think Kirkland's played really well lately. I think Lomberg's a spark plug, and I think Klapka should be playing because he's up and he hasn't been playing, and I don't really understand that. But I like all four of those players for a fourth line role.
Yep.
And honestly, I could even move Klapka up and move Pospisil down. Either way.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, Pospisil in a fourth line role wouldn't be bad either. So I can agree with that.
It's his play style.
Yeah, exactly. It's that gritty, hard nose, punish you style, and that's what you want out of your fourth line. You want speed, you want effectiveness, and you want possession, right?
Yeah.
And for the love of God, keep the puck out of her own net. And quite honestly, they've been all good at it. I mean, I'm not taking Lomberg off that line, obviously, other than potentially to move him up a line or two. I really like watching him play. He's another one of those guys that just full effort all the time. He doesn't float. He knows his role. He goes out there and he executes it quite well.
Yeah,
Rooney, I like having him on the team. He's just a smart hockey player. He doesn't have the skill that you would want per se, but he's a very smart hockey player. He's very good defensively.
I could be wrong, but I think he's got a pretty decent face-off percentage. I don't have it up, and I don't care enough to actually look at it. But I think he's got a fairly decent face-off percentage too, at least for this team.
I mean, he's like 73, so he's been doing it for a few years. He knows what he's doing there, so he should be good at it, right?
You said he's like 73.
I might have said that.
Yeah. And I feel the same way, and I know that a lot of people were upset that Hunt got recalled instead of somebody else. And he didn't end up playing, I don't think. But I think Hunt and Rooney are the same player. I have absolutely no problem with having either of them on my team.
Yeah, they sent Hunt down and brought Klapka up.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But they had, And I just wanted to say this too. I think the reason they did that is because the Flames played 2 games. And I think in that span, I think the Wranglers had like 3 or 4. So Klapka got to play lots. And then when they brought Klapka up, the Wranglers were having a really slow week. I think they were about to have like 4 days off. And the Flames had back-to-backs coming up. So it makes sense. They were doing that so Klapka could get the most games in.
Yeah. When they announced that Hunt was coming up, I was kind of baffled by it personally. I mean, I was baffled by it last year too, but that's another subject for another day. So it was, obviously he didn't play. So, I mean, it's just to have a body up after the Mantha injury and no harm, no foul, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. The Mantha injury. Did you see, I didn't see, and that just looked like a completely innocent run-of-the-mill play, and he just fell over and he never came back.
He wobbled, right? When he went into the boards, you could tell he wobbled, and it didn't look right, right away. He didn't fall over.
Well, yeah, he was down behind the net. I
don't think he actually went down. Anyways, when I didn't see it in real time per se, but after watching the replay once, you can tell that there was some discomfort there right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be season ending.
Oh no.
Which that
it is.
Blew me away
MCL?
ACL
surgery. So yeah, he's out for the season, and it's unfortunate to a point. It's unfortunate for him, and I know that a lot of Flames fans wanted to pump and dump him. I didn't think he was ever going to give us all that much value. And what I really didn't think is whatever value he was going to give us on the trade market was going to be worth holding Coronado back, especially after how strong Coronado has looked. So to me, it's almost a blessing in disguise because now Coronado's got top 9 minutes consistently. Mm-hmm. It sucks. You never want to see somebody go down. You never want to see somebody have an ACL surgery. Like, that's huge shit, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's nothing but good for the development of our team's future.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't think. I mean, I know I didn't think that Mantha would come in and look as good as he did. He definitely played a hell of a lot better than I thought he would.
The first 5 or 6 games, yes, but he fucking fell right off the map after that. I found.
I mean, as far as point production, but I still feel like away from the puck and even with the puck, he was still dangerous. And I feel like he was contributing a lot away from the puck physically.
Really, I thought he's just stopped being effective even without the puck. But
yeah, I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day because I mean he's a UFA at the end of the season, and I feel like his time with the Flames is likely over, unfortunately for him, I guess, or for the Flames. It was it was a weird signing at the time, considering where I thought we were going as a team. So
they're so concentrated on making Huberdeau better, and I think that's what they were trying to do. And it looked really good for the first few games, and then it didn't.
Yeah, and I think honestly, this is not the time to be focusing on making Huberdeau better.
No, I agree.
Right, it really isn't.
Like, even if he gets back to 70 points, are you going to trade him? Like
exactly.
who's gonna take him? And are you gonna hold $5.5 million for 5 more years? Or
thank God we got Huberdeau going again, and we ended up in the 20th spot. Well, thank God.
Yeah, if Huberdeau wasn't going, because Huberdeau got going.
Yeah, we could have drafted 5th, but because Huberdeau got going, we drafted 10th. Well, damn it.
Did you see today? So I told you Huberdeau is on pace for 30 goals, which is amazing. Just saying, I like that. But
30 goals?
30 goals. Last night I did the math. He was on pace for 30.7 something goals. So basically 31 goals. And that's amazing. That's great. But one of the problems right now is we have one player on pace for 50 points. You know who that is?
Would it be Anderson?
Yeah. Power play 2.
Well, shit.
Yeah. And I think he's on pace for like 51 or something like that. Like, this is what we've been saying for a couple of years. The Flames don't have a superstar player. Could Zary become that? Possibly. Could Coronado become that? Possibly. You need 2 or 3 superstars. You need.
I think. Agreed. Absolutely. I think Coronado will be a very effective middle 6 player. I don't know if I would be bold enough as to say that he's going to be the game changer. Did you ever think at this point you'd be looking at the stat line for the Flames and seeing Huberdeau leading the team in goals?
No,
and not in assists.
Yeah, exactly. Coronado, I think, probably would be leading in goals if he was up the whole time and was playing the whole time. But yeah, like you said, perfectly, like he's going to be a really good middle six player. I've said this 100 times before. My projection for Coronado is he's going to be Phil Kessel, a really, really good second liner who, if there's an injury, you can pop him up. He can play with really good players, but he's not elite. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I
feel like
25
most
goal
players,
guy.
I think most players would be pretty ecstatic if they were being compared to Phil Kessel.
Yeah. And there's
right?
there's nothing wrong with Phil Kessel. Like the
Yeah.
Kessel hot dog thing always gets me. It's like dude's a multiple time Stanley Cup winner and has millions and millions and millions of dollars. You can eat whatever the fuck he wants. It's like
100%.
Michael Phelps smoking weed. If you fucking win a Olympic medal high, good for you. Like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, that's
effectively our lines are almost identical.
Pretty close. I mean, I think you've got our first line is identical. Huberdeau, Zary, Sharangovich. Our second, I mean, we both have Coleman and Backlund together. We just have different wingers. I have Coronado. You have Kuzmenko.
Yep.
Or, yeah, you have Kuzmenko, right?
Yeah, that's the only players in that whole scenario that we have swapped is those two, Kuzmenko and Coronado.
And Kadri and Pospisil, and Lomberg, Kirkland, Klapka. Yeah. I can't see the W's continuing as much fun as it's been. Again, like we've had one W in the last 5 games or whatever, so it's not like they're continuing. But I can't even see the extra points, the loser points continuing as consistently as they have been. As fun as it's been to watch. I've said this quite a few times too. I am firmly on team rebuild. Team tank is the wrong way to say it because I don't want the players and the coaches actively trying to lose. Team rebuild because that's what the GM should be doing is rebuilding. And part of a strong rebuild and part of being on team rebuild to me is not being mad about wins, because here we are winning games off of the strength of Wolf, off the strength of Coronado, off the strength of Zary. They're learning how to produce. They're developing. Wolf is learning how to face NHL shooters and doing a great job at it. And if you don't develop your players properly with a strong veteran presence, I think we probably have too strong of a veteran presence for a rebuild. But if that's how you develop them properly, right? You have guys around who can teach them, and you watch them do well. And if they win games, you're not mad because you're winning games off of the strength of your young guys most of the time. Shucks.
Yeah, agreed. I guess, I mean, really, when you think about it, the veterans on the team, Huberdeau, Kadri, Coleman, Backlund, Rooney, I guess.
Anderson.
That's really it.
Anderson.
Yeah, sorry.
Uyghur.
For forwards, sorry. And then Anderson, Uyghur. So it's not as bad as you know. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's right. Eliminating Mantha obviously changed the average or the percentage on that. So, I mean, I would like, I don't have an issue with the guys we have here now as far as veterans. Those are the types of players I would like to use to mentor the youth, potentially minus a 91. Because I don't want to teach the youth how to be selfish with the puck.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that, and also the lack of integrity in his game. I find I don't want our players learning that diving is all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like accountability too.
Yeah.
I'm big on accountability.
The only player, and I hear lots of people talk about this because I don't know if he still leads the league in goals, but Rory Cairns has been absolutely on a tear. He's a point a game in the AHL. He's got 10 goals and 4 assists. I hear lots and lots of Flames fans wanting Rory Cairns to be called up. And here's my thing. This is his first year playing against men. He's playing center. He's playing as many minutes as a guy can play pretty much as a center in the AHL against men, and he's producing. Building a winning culture comes from the AHL as well, in my opinion. So I'd like to see him stay there and continue his torrid pace and maybe come up later in the season for a few games, but keep holding the Wranglers up, keep building chemistry with Klapka and Peltier and whoever else is down there at the time. Him and Peltier have been lights out, right? And I'd really like to see that continue. And then maybe one day in the future, they both come up at the same time and they're on the same line, a third line or something. And, in the future, next year, you've got two young guys coming up with established chemistry. Know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you said it right off the start on that, right? It's his first year playing against this type of these types of players,
professionals,
and he's doing very well, and that's fantastic. And that's part of development. They stay there and develop.
Absolutely.
We'll see it for a few games at the end of the season to see what you got, to see what kind of push you're going to potentially put forth and throw at us in training camp next year, and let's see what we can do moving forward. But that's just it for the time being. No, I don't. Do I want to see him up? Sure, for a couple of games at the end. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what rookies get. That's where you go, right? We've got a few UFAs, gonna, maybe sign or not. Obviously, we got Kuzmenko, Mantha, Rooney, and Kirkland coming up this year, and on defense, we got Barry and Hanley. Okay, so that's probably not going to be a marker for defense, especially. RFAs, we got
it's
Coronado,
worth mentioning
Zar, and
too. Yeah, okay. You're gonna go on the RFAs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
and then just ball. Yeah, it's all good. That was the list. The list is short for the actual roster.
I'd like to see an extension. I've said this 100 times, but I want to see an extension for Zary, and I think Flames media in general is catching up with me on this. But I think it's if we can lock him up at a reasonable number for a long term, his development is only going to get better and better, and he's worth a long contract, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously not going to let him walk, so I'm not worried about that RFA at all.
Yeah, me neither. But I still want to see. I want to see it before the breakout comes. You know what I mean? Because the breakout's coming, and I don't. There's a big difference between signing a guy long term for $6 million and signing him long term for 8 or 10.
Yeah, 9.5. Yeah. Agreed.
You got anything else you want to talk about? We're an hour and a half in almost here, so.
Holy, you're keeping me up past my bedtime, Dylan. Again.
Fuck. Yeah. Make sure to keep your teeth wet before you go to bed.
Yeah. No, I'll leave that alone.
Anyways, make sure you check out Rocky Mountain Maniacs, the band that local Calgary band that wrote our intro music. Check them out on Spotify. We'll leave a link in the description. We want to know what your ideal forward lineups are for the Flames. So let us know in the comment section down below. Remember to like and subscribe, all that type of fun stuff that you hear from every YouTube channel you ever watched in history. So do that for us too. And let your friends know, and go Flames go. It's been a hell of an exciting season so far.
Agreed. Go Flames. Thanks for tuning in.